Welcome back. This is the Megane RS225 that we've had in the shop for a little while now, that we've been just finalising the integration kit and doing a tune on it, just fixing some issues that the car had when it was delivered to us. There would have been a few videos you would have seen from stuff we've done with this, pulling spark plugs, flow matching injectors, all the rest of it, but we just thought we'd do a final rundown on where we finished up with the whole thing. So as you would remember, we fit the cam sensor in here, so we now run fully sequential. We've got a sequential injection loom, so we don't ignition loom, sorry, so we don't run wasted spark anymore. We've got our flex sensor here, so we can run E85 or E40 or whatever variants in between. It's a fuel pressure sensor here. We've also hard plumbed in with a -3 line to Series 200 hose the fuel pressure regulator, just because it's a rising rate and we don't want to get caught out with the line blowing off, because normally everyone just taps in, which is how this one was before. They tap into the brake booster and the recirculation valve and everything else in here, and it just all gets a little bit complicated, and there's normally a boost gauge and all the rest of the stuff, and you're just running a risk, because if your rising rate reg doesn't go up with boost, then you will lean the engine out, and leaning the engine out is a really bad thing. If it's on its own dedicated hardline, especially with -3 AN fittings on it, you can't go wrong. We upgraded the throttle body. This has got a Bosch 54mm throttle body on it now. This is the adapter we made. This -3 line plumbs into the side of this, and the purge valve plumbs into the bottom of it. So all the fuel tank still breathes. It's all like normal. Everything's still the same. This 54mm throttle body just removes the restriction that the factory 42mm throttle body delivered. The manifold opening is only 43mm, but a 42mm throttle body, given that it's got a 10mm shaft, gives you a 30% reduction in the surface area. So the factory throttle body is a restriction for these. The throttle body now is not a restriction. The only restriction it has is actually just the size of the manifold, and you can't really do a whole heap about that. It's got one of our adapter looms in it, you can see here. This is our build ECU that we've been using to just finalise all the package. The package has now been registered. It'll be available for sale next week. We've got to buy the first one to put an ECU for this car. You can see it all kind of plumbs in. It just connects into the factory connectors. You don't have to splice anything else in. Everything's plug and play. This is our ignition 4 module. At the moment, this is a communications module going back into the cabin, just because the client has to decide where he wants to put the port, and then we'll organise to get a hole through the firewall and mount all of that up for him. These little fittings here and this sensor here, these are just for our knock box that we use when we tune it. Just gives a set of headphones so we can listen to the engine. The knock sensor works in this, it does closed loop knock control, but we just like to have a secondary control while we're tuning it, which is what all of that is. We thought we'd show you the adapter loom, just because we've got another one here that we're about to send off on Tuesday for a second kit. So basically these are the factory connectors. You basically just disconnect the ECU, and the factory ECU connectors plug straight into this. This loom does both the Megane 2 and the Clio 3. The circuits that are specifically Clio 3 and not Megane 2, they are all dual wired into breakouts. Likewise the reverse. So any sensor or any specific pin that isn't common between both cars is dual wired to a breakout pin. So if your car doesn't use that, you can use that particular circuit in the ECU for some other function. There's a breakout for a expansion and output expansion. The output expansion is what we're using for the drive-by-wire motor in this, and also the cam sensor signal. Drive-by-wire motor is dual wired. We don't really recommend using the factory throttle body that Megane 2 has. It's a direct drive VDO unit. It's quite difficult to control. The Motec will control it. We just don't really feel that it has all the safety functions that we kind of like, and on top of that, it's a really small throttle body, and it's costing you horsepower regardless. This has one of our, this is what our sequential ignition coil breakout loom looks like. You can see it just plugs in here and it runs across. The adapter looms are all dual wired, so if you don't want to do that, it will still run off the wasted spark system that the factory has. This is the ignition 4 module. This is an integration module. It just has a little bit of circuitry to make it run into the car. The loom is made out of Raychem DR44 wire. It's Raychem DR25 heat shrink, and it's Raychem SCL resin strength that we use to seal these little individual points up. The required pins are all soldered to the PCB header. We then cover them with Raychem SCL, and then once we're finished with that, we resin fill the back of them to lock them all in, just to make them nice and secure and robust and sturdy and reliable. So this is what the adapter loom looks like. This is the ECU that we're going to get the license for on Monday to put actually into this car, and then we'll be right to go. So the ECU will just bolt into the factory location. Everything should be fine. So these are the dyno graphs. We've got like 6 runs up here. 3 of them were back to back late last night. 3 of them were back to back today, just to see exactly where we're going. The 3 today, we just played around with a little bit of individual cylinder stuff, just to see if a degree of timing in one cylinder might make a little bit of difference, or a bit less, or whatever else. As you can see, they're all really quite consistent. You can see this boost graph down the bottom here that we are running out of turbo. The turbo that's on this car, basically the top end, can't make any more than 1.3 bar of boost, and that's a limiting factor. If it had a better hybrid, or it had a Garrett turbo on it, I'm sure, or if it had the Garrett, I'm sure we'd make another 100 horsepower on top of this. So this is an E85 tune. You can see down here at the flywheel, it's all quite consistent, and it's very repeatable. So these tunes are basically back to back. So literally each dyno pull, we haven't turned the car off, we haven't cooled it down. It's like literally the car stopped, we've made a quick adjustment, and then we've run the car again. If you get any car dyno, get your tuner to give you multiple runs the same. It just means that it's not a magic run. It means that it's a run that is totally repeatable. It means that's what you're going to get out of the car if you take to the track. We know with some of the factory tunes that we see come in here, they'll make a really respectable number on the first pull. Second pull, they'll be 10% less. The third pull, they'll be another 5% less once all the trims start to kick in, and then they'll kind of stabilize. So get him to do 3 back to back. If he's worth his money, and he's worth the reputation that he sells you on, I'm sure he will, and I'm sure they should all be really consistent. This is an E85 thing. E85 generally makes you another 6 to 8 horsepower. The tunes that we've done before, and you can see them on some of the previous videos, it made about 380 at the crank, 385 at the crank. So it's made like that 6 to 8% that we're talking about. So when it came in, our number calculated at the flywheel was 333 was the best we got out of the first run. After that, they were like 260 horse for the rest of the runs, which that's a little bit better than standard, but not really all that much. So that's where that tune is. Even with our 98 tune, we've got like multiple runs back to back logged into here. The reason that your E85 will make a little bit more power is it's an alcohol-based fuel, so there's a little bit of charge cooling, like the evaporative cooling effect that happens to the air before it passes in the cylinder once it mixes with the fuel. You get a little bit, like it's a better evaporative cooling out of E85 than what it is out of petrol. The other factor is 107 octane, so it will take another couple of degrees of timing, which kind of helps make that little bit of additional power. So that's where you get it from. The Motec system runs full flex, so basically you can put E40 in it, you can put E25, it works it all out, and then it just modulates between the two, and you can configure the rate of modulation between your 98 tune and your E85 tune as the flex ratio changes. But yeah, basically it's pretty standard. We'd recommend E85 for any kind of a track car, just because it gives you such a bigger degree of safety window when you're out there tracking the car. I'm just going to come into the car now. So with the system, your scan tool and everything else still works. We're just going to start it. As you can see here, everything works. There's no warning lights. litres per 100 kilometres still works because it's found the fuel usage number in. The fuel gauge still works because it still has that fuel number. It updates off the fuel number, which is how these Renaults work. If I turn the air conditioning on, the air conditioning all still works. There's no additional secondary modules. There's none of that kind of stuff. I'm just going to open up our ECU. Bit of mighty car mods there. Good boys. Just going to hook into the ECU. See there, it's found it. It's just booting up now. See here, you can see our lambda and everything else is all working. Fuel pressure, everything's all kind of still happy there. We're just going to do a couple of stop starts. So you can see here we've got our cam messaging coming out of the car. Same messages on the thing. If we remove the card, please insert card message. We've got a start message request. This car starts and runs, so that part's all good. You can see our compressor's on, all of that's there. Basically everything works. Our cruise control works, our speed limiter functions work, all the rest of it. The other cool thing that we have here, if you're doing less than 20 kilometers an hour, you can program it slightly differently, and you pull the handbrake on, it will momentarily show you the ethanol content. So we're just going to pull the handbrake on now. You see the tacho's gone up to about 3,900 or thereabouts. If you divide that by 50, you get your ethanol content, so 3,900 is about 78% ethanol. So it's just a quick thing after you've done it, so you know it works. But you can see our temperature gauge works, our tacho works, all the rest of the stuff works. We don't have any warning lights active. We can configure warning lights from within the Motec, so we can use all of that. We can turn our air conditioning on or off, so it interfaces with the air conditioning module without any additional circuitry. The software is compatible with so we can have two different maps for whether you've got the standard module like we're in now, or you turn the ASC off. We can have a map with a bit more horsepower into the whole car, and a slightly different ignition map. If you're running on 98, the E85 map will always kind of still be about the same. So you can have that, and we can also have it configured so that when you do the ASR off stuff, you can now get a no lift upshift, so you can hold your foot flat, pull the gear, and it cuts and rev matches to the next gear. Likewise, it'll do a blip and rev match on a downshift, so it'll blip and rev match for the next gear down. This car, because it's only Megane 225, doesn't have variable cam. You can't do ghost cams with it, but this package, if you did put Megane 3 head on and Clio 3 head on it, it will do the ghost cam stuff. It'll still do like a crackle overrun sort of thing. We can have that so it's just on the ASR off function. So basically it's all kind of programmable from all that kind of stuff. These kits are going to be available from next week on. If you're kind of interested, drop us a line at rsport@ozemail.com.au, and we're happy to get back to you. Thanks for watching. We'll put a couple of links into the video. You can contact us on WhatsApp or whatever else. But like I say, this kit will be available for next week. Your scan tools will still work. We use an Autel scan tool. We can get in, we can read all the values out of the ABS module. EGH, the instrument cluster, everything else. We can clear any faults that are existing in there. Everything basically works fine. So it's a fully integrated package. There's a whole heap of really nice features in there. If you're interested, please contact us. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.